Now, the third concern is the risk of forced eviction or even expulsion, and a risk that continues to grow as the Maliki government reaches out to the Iranian regime. Now, in case there is any doubt in anyone's mind as to what might happen if people from Ashraf camp were to be returned forcibly to Iran, the regime in Tehran sent us a brutal message only yesterday by executing Jafar Kazmi and Muhammad Ali Hajagai. Now, what was their crime? Chanting slogans supporting PMOI, photographing post-election protests, distributing them on the internet. And yes, one of them had a son in Ashraf. In late December, Ali Saremi, as you know, was hanged without notice. He had visited his son in Ashraf. He was accused of membership of PMI. 4 others, including a woman, are on death row for the same reason. All their trials were unfair. Organizations like Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch have acknowledged that, and have also acknowledged reports of ill torture and ill treatment. These days are dark days for human rights in Iran. Executions are being carried out at an amazing speed. Iran executes more people per capita than any other country in the world, and in absolute numbers, it is second only to China. Even as protests have gathered speed inside Iran, the regime has cracked down with vengeance. A noted filmmaker has been sentenced to a long term in prison. Journalists have been attacked. Women activists have been incarcerated for demanding equality. Now here, I want to acknowledge the courage of Iranian women in their quest for freedom and equality. And I think we should all acknowledge that. Now, the seriousness of the situation in Iran was such that the United Nations General Assembly, in a most unprecedented manner, actually adopted a resolution expressing its concern about the appalling state of human rights in Iran. It mentions torture, violence against women, repression of ethnic and religious minorities, and lack of accountability for human rights violations that followed the 2009 presidential elections. Now you might say, what is another General Assembly resolution? Yet another paper. But I would ask you to note that we are talking about the United Nations General Assembly, where the majority of governments come from the developing world. This is not the West criticizing Iran. This is the world criticizing Iran. And there is a shift there, and we need to take that shift into account. Now, I'm an eternal optimist. In the human rights business, you have to be an optimist. And I would say that we do see cracks there. Tunisia has been mentioned several times. And here we again see a growing realization that human rights matter, that what is happening inside Iran, the human rights situation inside Iran matter globally, not just to the Iranian people. So I would take that as a positive sign and one on which to build support. Public opinion matters. Now, coming back to Ashraf. The residents of Ashraf were designated by the US as protected persons under the Geneva Convention. And there is now some debate as to whether or not that status has lapsed. But whichever way you argue the law, whichever position you take, international law makes it very clear that no one can be returned to a place where he is likely to be tortured. No one can be ill-treated. Civilians must be treated with humanity, dignity, and respect for their rights. And that places a clear obligation on the Iraqi government to protect the residents of Ashraf from any danger and to ensure their humane treatment. Furthermore, Iraq is a state party to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, which places upon the government the obligation to respect human rights, the obligation not to torture, to treat well, not to expel, deport, send someone forcibly to a place where they may face torture, cruel, inhumane, or degrading treatment or punishment. The government of Iraq cannot escape that obligation, regardless of whether or not it recognizes any status for the residents of Ashraf. The most important attribute of sovereignty is the responsibility to protect people on its territory. The Iraqi government must not be allowed to escape that responsibility. And the international community must hold the Iraqi government to account. Pressure and accountability are the tools that the human rights system uses to hold governments to their obligations. Those tools have to be now applied to the Iraqi government. And I don't believe the international human rights system is doing that enough in the case of Ashraf. They need to wake up to their own responsibility in that respect. Now, there is no confidence among the Ashraf residents that the Iraqi authorities will protect them or assist them. On the contrary, there is fear that the opposite is happening. And of course, the behavior of the Iraqi authorities gives substance to those fears. And so, what is the role then of the international community? Now, as a former UN refugee official and a current human rights practitioner, I know from my own experience on the ground that international involvement, and in particular international presence, is a critical factor in ensuring protection to populations at risk. I have seen in many volatile situations the value that the United Nations or the International Red Cross brings, both in protecting civilians and also in creating an environment of trust and confidence in which tensions between the population and the host country can be reduced. Now, I was told that UNAMI, the UN operation in Iraq, only visits Ashraf from time to time because it does not feel that it has sufficient security to be there all the time. So I think presence will go a long way. Regular presence will go a long way. Regular monitoring will go a long way in providing protection to the people of Ashraf. But there is now incumbent on the UN member states, and in particular on Iraq and on the United States, to make it possible for the UN to establish that presence there and to be there. This is precisely the kind of situation where cooperation between the multilateral human rights system and member states like the US can help to diffuse tensions, depoliticize the situation, and ensure that all sides recognize that this is first and foremost a humanitarian problem that requires a humanitarian solution. Now, what should the European Union do? What should the United States do? I think we've heard from Americans and Europeans about that, so I won't talk about that. I'm neither American nor European. But what I do want to press here is the importance of keeping the focus on accountability and respect for human rights. This is a highly charged region. In the bigger picture of global politics, strategic issues like nuclear weapons, Ashraf may seem too small. Human rights may seem a secondary issue. Too often, we have seen in the recent past how human rights have been brushed to one side because of security concerns. Just think of Iraq. The issue there was weapons of mass destruction. Today, the situation, the key issue on the ground is human rights of the people of Iraq. And so I would beg all of you to not lose sight of what is happening here. Yes, nuclear weapons, Iran is a threat, all that is true. But what do the people of Iran want?